learned from the most was from my kid would never do that, because when those like teenager or like people are like put into a situation where other people are making racist jokes, it's hard for them to stand up for themselves. And I thought that was like strong.
Yeah, that stood out to me too, and it just like shows that like people in our day like just want to fit in because the actors were saying like such racist comments, and then like most of the kids that were put in the situation like didn't stick up, and so they just like felt uncomfortable and like looked down or like laughed awkwardly. It just shows that like there's so many people that disagree in like our day with like the racist comments and stuff like that, but like a lot of people that like aren't gonna do anything about it, kind of. But like it's important to do something about it, which was also shown in like my kid would never do that, because when the people stood up for like the singer that was gonna go home, like that singer was like really happy that they stood up for them.
I also found it interesting that there was like, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like hidden racism, where like it's just like subtle things that are said that you don't really pick up on. It's just like a lot of people just like brush them under the bus and don't say anything, but like seeing that, I could see that like maybe like now in my life I can look out for those kind of things that like people say it and you don't really think they're trying to be racist, but it actually is racist, so you can kind of like figure out how to stick up for that, and like telling those people that it's actually wrong to say that and you shouldn't say those things about like people.
Well, I think something like both American Born Chinese and Mean Girls was trying to like teach us, I guess, or like something we learned was like don't change yourself for others to fit in and stuff. Like on page 213 to 214, when we see the Monkey King change back, and we see Danny change back into who he really was, and like in the end, it doesn't really like it didn't make either of them happy, and in Mean Girls, it didn't make Katie happy. So like you should just like accept yourself, and if people like are gonna judge you and stuff, they like that's because they probably feel bad about themselves, or like they're just immature, and like as long as you're respectful, you should just like don't change yourself for others.
I have one thing that I learned was like not judge people based on the way they look, because appearances in this book are like what drive the plot, and like the twists and like transformations in this book like rely on like the Chinese appearances of people. And for example, on page 48 and 49, when Chen Qi is introduced to the reader, it's easy to judge him based on his appearance, and I know like we all make like judgments every day of like people we just see in our hallways or people we know, so I learned more about that.
Similar to Olivia, I learned from this unit I need to accept people for who they are and not for what they look like. And I also learned that I need to accept myself and be proud of where I came from. Like on page 223, when the Monkey King decides that he's happy that he's a monkey and that he's finally accepted himself for who he is, he's a lot happier. And in A Class Divided, I also learned that even if I'm a part of what the superior group would be, I can't treat other people like they aren't my equal, because we are all human, and just because some people are treated nicer in society, you can't treat other people the way that society treats them.
I kind of learned like, it wasn't like learning, but it just opened my eyes a lot, because I think I knew a lot of this stuff, it's just never like experienced it. So like you were talking about the singing one, what was it called? My kid would never do that. For that one, like I think I've done that stuff before, like not probably as mean, like I wouldn't vote somebody out for show, but like those like funny racist jokes or whatever, and you don't really think much of it, and so it kind of like opened up my eyes, like that stuff can hurt people's feelings more than like you think it would.
I think that's like really hard, because like if I was in that situation and people would start making racist jokes, or like they might be serious, I won't know if they're being like serious or not, and like since they're like strangers, you know, it's like they don't know each other, and like they're saying that, you can't really say like be rude to them. In some way, it's like well, you better shut up, or like you can't really say that, and it's, or like you might, like I wouldn't be able to say like that's not cool, because they might be just joking, or
At the same time, I guess it was different, because like sometimes it was like a funny joke, like they said like his name was like Pedro or something, and they didn't say that anything like mean about him. But like when they were like, oh, he can't sing because of the color of his skin or because he like looks this way, I think that's different. Like I'd probably say something then, but it was just interesting to see that.
From Mean Girls, I learned that you shouldn't change yourself to fit in because you'll lose your real friends. So yeah, that's that.
I think another thing that like this novel also kind of like, I don't know, taught us that like we sort of already knew is just like how much people use stereotypes. Like in TV shows we watch, well like, I don't know, my family watches like Modern Family sometimes, and we'll sometimes watch like Blackish, and we used to watch Fresh Off the Boat, but like I think Fresh Off the Boat is just like too much, we stopped watching it, but like I think in our society today, like people use stereotypes like so much more, and they use it for like comedy, and I feel like, I don't know, we shouldn't do that as much because it might be disrespecting, or it is disrespectful to people, and
Well, that's like on the chapters with Chinky, like they put it like a sitcom, like the ha 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 at the bottom, like prompt you to laugh, but it's like not funny.
I think that's really hard thing to change because it's like what we laugh at now that even though it might not be funny, but it's funny apparently. So yeah, I think it's really hard to change.
I feel like it's harder to laugh, but like at the same time it's easier to laugh when like the person that is like that race or stereotype is making that joke. I feel like that's when we're more comfortable around it because like they're saying it and we're not saying it. So then we kind of get confused sometimes when other people of not that race like says the jokes. So then we don't know what to like do in that situation.
Another lesson that I learned from this book was like betrayal, because I feel like many characters betray themselves in this book. Like for example, on page 188 when Jing kisses his best friend's girlfriend because he can't seem to deal with like that he's like Chinese when he was getting mad at that other like blonde guy. And I think they like kind of people betray others, and then they also betray themselves. Just a random thing.
Do you guys have any connection to racism in your life?
I mean, like, I don't have racism, but my dad, like, I know my dad, like, stereotypes and, like, not like, he, like, when I was growing up, I know my dad, like, would always not, like, make fun of old people, but, like, kind of, like, make some jokes about them. My mom would get really pissed because I would be in the car at that time when we go to, like, Minneapolis to, like, some of my friend's house. And he'd always make, like, these small jokes of, like, kind of why I'm homeless or whatever. And then mom got really mad because, like, she didn't want me to hear that. So I did kind of grow up with that a little bit, so.
Yeah, I feel like stereotypes are kind of like in everyday life, so I feel like all of us probably have examples of like, you know, something, especially like in Wayzata as well.
And especially with like the shows we watch, have so many of them.
I think it's like hard to stop now, so I think it's better for us to learn how to like handle it because it just happens and you can't just stop that. And I think just, I mean, I'm not saying that you just let it go and get used to it, but I think you don't have to get super angry when people start making racist jokes. You just say like that's not cool and like try to handle it, not make it a big deal.
I agree with that because I feel like it's not like stereotypes. I feel like are never gonna go away. Like they're always gonna be around, and even if you don't say something stereotypical and rude, I feel like everyone, it's just human nature to like think something stereotypical when you see someone, even though like after you're like, oh, I shouldn't have like thought of that even because that's stereotypical. I think it's always gonna be in us because we're so like wired to think those things, but we can like stop ourselves from saying that, and then hopefully that'll like make a change or a difference.
But at the same time, like some people do different things. Like not, I mean, I would say like whole like races do anything, but like at the same time, if you're trying to like stay who you are, like this book is saying, then you're not like nobody's ever going to be all the same. So there, like you said, there's always going to be stereotypes. I think that makes any sense.
well, I agree with like that there will probably always be stereotypes and just like this is kind of random, but the other day I was like watching a video on like stereotypes like on dogs. Like so there's this breed called pit bulls, you guys probably don't know what those are. And I felt like the discrimination towards them was like getting better. And then I watched a video on how like they're still being taken away from their families for being the breed they are because in the past they had like attacked people. But kind of like with humans, like if you can't like really stereotype every single dog in that breed, if like only one or like a few attack people, and so like the people you can't really stereotype everyone, even though like maybe a few might be like that. Which I don't know. I feel like stereotypes will always be around, and like it may get better and it may not, but like we just have to learn how to accept it and try to do our best to like not make it worse.
Kind of going along with this like topic, my dad just told me a quote that he learned in a training that says, stereotypes are partially based in fact, but it leaves little room for individualism. So I thought that was like a cool quote and like a good way to put it, because it's true that stereotypes do in a way come from fact. When you're like looking at a whole group of people, like you can kind of pick out things, but it leaves that room where you can't be your own person, because when you see someone you just think, oh, they're that way, but most likely they have their own like characteristics and personality. So it just leaves like the little room for individualism.
Can I ask a weird question? I hope it doesn't like make it awkward, but what's the white stereotype?
It depends on like who's saying the stereotype. I think a white person would say it differently than a different race maybe. So I don't know. It's a tough question.
Privileged, probably. Heard that before.
I think it depends on where they live. Sorry. But like you know, like the white trash stereotype or that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a minute.
Like there's also the stereotype of being a white girl. So like
Yeah, basic.
yeah,
And like wearing
yeah. Like dancing like a white girl. You don't know how to dance.
Ooh.
That's a stereotype. I didn't make it up.